Hey, so welcome. Happy Tuesday. This is the Stormwater Management Public Education and Training Committee. Today is January 24th, 2023, first meeting of the year. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Alana Todd. I'm the environmental planner at the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. And we have a pretty great agenda today, a lot of good topics, and we'll have a roundtable to talk about our priorities and programs for 2023. So I want to dive right in. First, let's start off. Is there any public comment? Keep in mind, we'll go through announcements later in the agenda, but if you have an announcement you'd like to say now, then feel free to speak up. Alrighty, well, let's keep moving then. We'll jump right into our first presentation, and this will be from Heather Maggio with the City of Tampa. She is going to introduce a new online stormwater pollution prevention virtual training program that she developed for the City of Tampa's mobility department staff. So, taking a different direction from educating the public, which is, I think, a topic we normally talk about. Educating our internal staff is also really important. So Heather, you want to share your slides?
I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Great.
Okay. Undersized, full size. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You just want to, present. Perfect.
Good. Okay,
Yep.
great. Okay. My name is Heather Maggio. I'm with the City of Tampa. We have launched a virtual employee training program here in the city. The soft launch started in December of 2022. Why have we done this? We have an NPDS program. Every city and every county has one. One of the requirements and of the minimum activity regulations is to train your employees. And so that part of that requirement is going to be fulfilled through this virtual program. Now, in the City of Tampa, we have what's called an EDP site, and it's a learning catalog for all different topics. What we decided to do was go online and look for a video that would complement the employee training program. So we decided to go ahead and start this. And what it did is it replaced our in-person training, and it also promoted social distancing because we were going against the challenge of COVID, and we had not trained our employees in 2 years. So this eliminated that issue. Now we're starting to get not only our core employees through the permit requirements, but now our goal is to train every employee in the city, whether you're an office assistant or you're a solid waste truck driver, you're going to get this training. It consists of a 30-minute video and quiz. As you can see on the right, there is a catalog, and that is where you would click. If you're an employee, you would go to your catalog and you would find this program. Essentially, this is the summary of the program. This is where we got the course details, the overview. I can read it to you, but as you can see, it has many elements in the program. These are the program chapters, and this is what I felt was the most important part of this, was that it covers from just good housekeeping all the way to landscaping and grounds maintenance. So if you're an employee in the city, one of these topics is going to cover your daily BMP, which is your best management practice on your task on how you can prevent pollution for your city. Now, this is who we purchased the software through. This is XCal Visual. If you're interested in purchasing this program, you can call Ben. He is the account manager over at XCal, and I put his information on the left for you. Now, when you go into, if you click on And this is a live link, but if you click on this live link, you can actually preview the video. And if you contact him and tell him that you heard about the program through me, he most likely will give you the full version so that you can view it and decide for yourself. That's what I did, is I contacted him and I was able to not just see a couple of minutes of the video, but the entire video, so that I could decide for myself if that was something that I wanted in the city. Now, the program details, it's just, it had to be compatible with what we call SCORM software here in the city, because that's our learning center. That's how we put everything in our program. The license that we purchased is only for 600 employees per year. So the program permit requirements are that you have rotation of 5-year period. And so we have a little over 3,000 employees. So we figured 600 a year, we would be able to get through all the employees in the 5-year permit cycle. And so that's why we chose that. Now, the total cost was $3,190. This is into perpetuity. There is no re-ups. As long as you keep the same software, you can use this year after year after year. Now, the software does update, he said, about every 5 to 10 years. So they'll have a new video come out. So it's pretty much, it's budget friendly. So for a little over $3,000, you're going to get all your employees trained. Now, if you look to the right, I had an additional 5 questions added to my program. And this is specifically for the city of Tampa. And the most important part was, who do you call when you see pollution in the city? And that's question number 5. That's what we want our employees to do. If they see pollution, we want them to give the call. We have 4 operators that answer the phone all the time. So that's where we get all of our pollution hotline calls. And this is our number here. This is our pollution control program. It's also for the public and for the employees. So anyone who sees pollution in the city of Tampa can call this number, report it, and then we will send out an inspector out to find out what is going on in the field. And that is all I have for you. Any questions?
Thanks, Heather. I will let other people ask their questions first because I have a few for you.
Yes, Heather, I have a question. This is Juanita, Pasco County. Was your video customized for the city of Tampa, or is that the generic video that they have?
It is their municipal generic video. So the video does not call out the city of Tampa. It calls out each individual as a municipal city employee. So it does work across the region. You could purchase the video and then you can customize it, or you can customize the end, or you can even add an extra video if you wanted to have a 2-minute video with your director saying something to the employees. We chose to go with the video, and then there's a short quiz. And we decided to make 80% a passing score so that you didn't have to have 100% to get credit for the video.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, have you already started to deliver the training?
We did a soft launch in December. It only went out to a couple of departments. And so far we have about 165 trained. But we are planning on doing a larger campaign internally so that we can get more departments on board, because we do have a limitation of only 600 a year. That's our only restriction.
So that leads into my next question, which was, since you only can train those 600 employees a year, are you prioritizing certain departments or certain employees to go first?
We did. We decided that we went ahead and started our stormwater operations yard as our first employee selection, because they're out in the field the most, and they're in the ditches and they're in the stormwater ponds. So they're most likely going to see something else going on in the field. Our secondary was solid waste truck drivers, because they're out in the field constantly and they can see pollution in the city. And then our fleet maintenance. And from there we go to code, water, wastewater, etc.
Well, Heidi, I see you have some questions in the chat. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask Heather?
Sure. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
I'm Heidi Horak. I am a member of my local planning agency here in Treasure Island. I was also the city commissioner for a couple of years, and I've done quite a bit of studying of stormwater as a law student. So I was curious what the small cities are doing. Are they gobbling up this program, or are they sharing, or what are they doing as far as a hotline? Because obviously, you know, we're 7,000, excuse me, yeah, 7,000 city of Treasure Island. Thank you.
I actually am not sure what other cities are doing. This is a first for us to go virtual. Previous to COVID, I was the one doing the in-person training for all the departments. So I'm not sure what the smaller cities are doing, but this could apply to smaller cities. This program is flexible. They can do it on their downtime. The Stormwater Operations Yard, they utilize this when it rains outside and they can't go out and do inspections. So rainy days are a good day for training, and they can do this virtually and they can do it on their own schedule.
Heidi, do you have any other questions for Heather?
Just whether or not anybody else knows any of the smaller cities plans to go virtual this training.
I'm not sure that all the cities have this training. I mean, if it's new for Tampa, I would imagine most smaller cities probably don't have this, but maybe someone else can speak up. Jonah, does Plant City have something like this?
No, we're still doing them in person.
Okay.
And that's typically how most cities did do it. Everything was done in person. And then when we all went virtual, we had challenges. So we had to come up with new ideas to evolve. And this is one way that makes telework work.
I'm interested about that dynamic switching from in-person to virtual, whether you'll still have those similar outcomes. Virtual learning, sometimes it doesn't always resonate as well as, learning in person. So do you anticipate any differences? And if so, like how would you incorporate that into the training?
What I do like about virtual training is we're going to increase our awareness, not decrease, because we're going to capture more employees than we ever have. And we also have a better tracking device so that we now not only have the video, but we also have a quiz associated with it. So in-person training, it was all just an hour presentation, and it was a short 10-minute video, but I believe it was done many years ago in Polk County. And it was a small 10-minute video about municipal employees, not this XCal training video that covers 14 different topics. This is a 30-minute video.
Heather, I would agree with Alana in that some folks learn better virtually and then some folks do better like in person. So do you see that like further on in like the next year or so that you might have the option to do either virtual or in person?
I don't see us going back to in-person training. I see this as a better way of advancing the program and tracking it, as well as the quiz. That does give feedback as well from our employees that they have comprehended it and they have taken the quiz.
How many times do you anticipate the employees will complete this? Is it every 5 years or
Correct.
just once for the duration of their employment?
No, every 5 years. It's a requirement that we train core employees in the NPDS program. So it's up to your interpretation what you consider a core employee. For us, it was always public works employees, that those were our core field employees. So we always train them. Now we're going to reach every single employee, whether you're sitting behind a desk or not.
Looks like we have another question in the chat. It's Sadie from Pinellas County. Do you want to ask a question?
I saw on the thing it said participate in Stormwatch for employees. I'm just curious what that means.
Stormwatch is the title of the video. Rain check, Stormwatch, municipal city employee. And so Stormwatch is essentially part of the video. When you see the preview, you'll see that they encourage employees to look out for pollution in the city. And so that's what their coin phrase is. They call it a Stormwatch, be on Stormwatch.
Okay.
Heidi asked for, oh, let me send, Heidi, you asked for it was a direct message to me asking for the citation for the NPDES permit section or BMAP that requires the training. Heather, do you have that on hand?
I don't have it on hand. That document is several pages, but I can send you the one page that calls out for training city employees in the NPDES program. Now, for the city of Tampa, we are unique in the fact that we do not co-permittee with any other city or county or even DOT. We have our own NPDES permit, so it's issued just to the city of Tampa. It's unlike the other side of the bay in Pinellas County, it's issued to Pinellas County, DOT, and all the smaller cities. They all contain one permit. That's not the way we do it here in Hillsborough.
Okay, thanks, Heather.
Mhm.
And so my last question is, well, I was gonna ask about other cities. I guess I wanted to hear from everyone else here. Do you have interest in developing a online training program for your staff, or are you content doing, in-person training? I guess I just wanted to hear everyone else's feedback to determine whether this is a program that, Heather, you might be, want to adopt it yourself, or let's see. Sorry, I'm getting chats too. So yeah, I'll let everyone speak up. Is this something that you would consider adopting for your local city or county for your own staff?
So I'll speak up. So I'm Sheila with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program.
Sheila.
And so we are working on kind of a different training, but I'm interested to see, Heather, maybe we can chat about how you could incorporate our training like into yours. So ours is specifically focused on tidal tributaries, best management practices, but it's similar in that we're gonna kind of be developing this best management practices training for city and county staff, but mainly focused around the stormwater maintenance crews. So the curriculum is basically going to be tailored for managing these kind of tidal tributaries for multiple purposes. So like habitat, water quality, fisheries, as well as the really important flood control. The training will also include some conflict resolution so that folks know how to, or have the capacity or some knowledge in how to deal with conflicts with community members, or things like that. But then also like native species identification and benefits of having native species near these like interior creeks and streams. So I'd love, right now our workshops are going to be in person, but I'd love to see how well your soft launch does, if you're really seeing improvements for the virtual option, and maybe we could incorporate that and have like a virtual option component as part of our training program, and then maybe other cities could adopt that, and so that we're all kind of training on the same things.
And just remember too, you can tailor this program to however many employees you want. So your license is based on how many you train per year. We just decided to fall on 600 a year. We thought that would be a good way to start the program. And if in the future we ever need to increase that, then we would have to buy another license to accommodate for more employees. But we feel as though once every 5 years, an employee getting this training, this is going to stick. Now, the topics are very generic. They're not as specific as your training program. These are more topics on what the pollution is, and who do you call. And so we don't really train people to interact with the pollutants or the violators. We have them call the phone number, so then the inspector takes over at that point. So for example, if it's a construction site violation and they call in a construction site, I will then call over to construction services and I will ask that director to send out a construction inspector. At that point, his inspector will take over the case and he will decide whether it's a violation that is deemed worthy of calling a code enforcement inspector to write a ticket. Because here in the city, pollution is now civil. It's not a criminal violation. You get tickets based on how many events you do, and based on if you're a commercial or a resident. So a resident, a first-time offense would be $75. For a commercial landscaper, let's say they're polluting and putting stuff in our drains, their first offense is $400. So that will trigger a code enforcement. Now, if it's a landscaper, I'll just definitely call code instead of calling the director at construction services, because he only deals with construction sites. So there are specific people that we contact once the pollution call comes in from the employee, but we don't ask them to interact.
Heather, are you, I guess, how often are you anticipating maybe updating this training program? Is there the possibility that you could add on to it, in the future?
I think we could. I think that we could get more specific, like the Tampa Estuary program, where they're having detailed topics, and those may be trainable moments for our environmental specialists for those type of activities, or if a stormwater technician needs more training down at the yard. But I think for the general employee, this is a great program for stormwater awareness, just so that they're aware of what is pollution. A lot of people don't even understand construction dirt is pollution.
Right.
So that basic general understanding is what our goal is that we reach every employee. So that if they ever are questioned by a FDP employee comes down to our city and asks an employee, what is stormwater pollution? They'll be able to answer that question with having a base knowledge.
So important. Are there any other questions for Heather? Or comments, if you just want to say anything related to the program or otherwise?
This is Christine from Pasco.
Christine.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I was instructed to share what Pasco currently is in the midst of implementing for Pasco County overall. We have taken upon ourselves to create with our IT department to an application which is managed by the Juanita, Julie, and myself. And inside of here, we have everybody in the county that's required per the NPDS to take the requirement of the different trainings that we have, and then it goes into the application and it's marked, and then the application will also take and submit out the reports. These are tracked monthly and put into the application. We are in the process of automating some more applications or pieces of it, and we also will be sending out mass emails to the managers and the employees, which are required to take the training. So it's in the process, and when I get further implementation, we can share that later. But we also have our videos online for the public and the in-house training to meet the NPDS requirement.
And that's the good part about the NPDS program, is that it is flexible on how you satisfy your requirements. It not necessarily has to be one program. It can be anything that you decide that is going to train your employees and give them the awareness and how to prevent pollution in their daily tasks, as well as how to teach them to call the right person so that there is an inspector going out and doing the enforcement.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Christine. Scott, I see you have your hand raised.
Good morning. Yeah, I just wanted to share what DOT here in the District 7 is doing. So we provide the link for training from our from central office that has the SAMs and ponds public viewer training. It has the MPDS spill prevention contaminant response training, tier 1 illicit discharge detection and elimination training. And then we also share the stormwater management plan. But locally within District 7, we also have for DOT a learning curve system. So it's an online learning system that we have the illicit discharge and elimination training. It's a CBT, it's 14 minutes, and we share that with all employees. Plus this year we have a district in-house training group that started sharing the different MPDS and illicit discharge, construction discharging type of training to the employees. So we do feel like it's also important to have that information out there, share that with our employees, give them the opportunity to learn. A lot of people are fascinated to learn and to see exactly what we do to try to prevent pollution and have a successful stormwater program. So just wanted to share that.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Scott. So any last comments or questions before we move on the agenda?
This is Barb with the City of Seminole.
Barbara.
With our employees, we have a PowerPoint and video presentation that I do. And I also customize it to our city. I encourage the employees to take a picture if they see an illicit discharge and send it in. And I take those pictures and put them in the training presentation. And they just love that. Every time I give a presentation, you know, for weeks, they'll be sending in pictures to me. That's how we do it here.
That's great. Thank you for adding that. I'm glad to hear that the staff are getting engaged. They like the pictures.
They do.
That's great. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Great presentation. I appreciate you sharing this new program. So next up, we have Jonah Mick with Plant City. So you might recall at the last meeting, we discussed evaluating the success of stormwater education campaigns and using behavior change as an ideal metric for doing that. So the best way of accomplishing behavior change is to really design the campaign or the program from the beginning around that behavior change that you would like to achieve. So we've seen this before in the Pipe Up campaign from the estuary program, but Jonah now is going to walk us through social marketing for stormwater management in particular.
All right, I'm trying to share my screen here. Let's see if anyone can see it. Do you have the presentation there? Can you see?
Yes, good to go.
Okay, and everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm gonna I just tell you up front, I won't be able to give you like a full training on social marketing in this time allotted, but it's just gonna be kind of a quick overview. I do want to point out that this has nothing to do with social media. This is not social media marketing. It's actually social marketing, behavior change marketing. And let's see, there we go. There is the academic definition. Basically, what we're saying is if people can make you buy Nikes and iPhones, maybe we could use that power to get people to do things that are good for them. So that's really where this came from. It is the science of behavior change. So it helps you take an education program, make it something that's reproducible, verifiable, and measurable. And it's been around a really long time. Started in the 70s in the health field. It had some gains into the environmental world in the early 2000s and then kind of leveled off. But if you've seen any of these programs and you have seen it in action because they were consciously designed according to these principles. So now let's think back to like third grade science class, you know, when we all did the scientific method, because I'm basically going to walk you through that again right now. So the first step is to gather background data. And I know that all of us are experts in our field. We do this all the time. So I want you to pull together all of that experience, think through it with me, and throw it out right now. Because in the social sciences especially, it is entirely susceptible to bias. So we need to make sure that the data speaks and that we're not inserting our bias on top of things. Because if you do, you will most likely be wrong. And I have another presentation that can prove that. But for now, you just have to take my word for it. We have to gather some data. And that data needs to be all about the target behavior. So whatever it is that you're trying to change, these are some of the questions that kind of prompt you along. And I know this is where I start to lose people right away. So don't guess. We don't want you to go ahead and just start filling in the answers to this. We have to let the data speak, because again, you will probably be wrong if you guess. So we have to actually, have some sort of process to back that up. So you can do that through things like observation. Obviously, if you can see the behavior, you can see what's going on. If you can't see the behavior, then you can use a surrogate. This would be something like looking at water bills to determine if water conservation behaviors are taking effect. You can also do these magical focus groups. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those later. And then, of course, you can do interviews, direct communications with people. So these are ranked according to a certain criteria. Did anybody pick up on it? I'll just tell you for sake of time, it is the bias potential. So the things at the top of the list are the least susceptible to the bias. Things at the bottom are going to be the most susceptible because you influence what you study. So if you're talking to people, you're influencing them, they're influencing you, and you both don't recognize how you're changing the results. So that can be critical, not always, but we want to just be cognizant that that's what's happening. So once we have that background data, we know our population, we have to break that down into smaller parts to some chunk that we can focus on. We call that segmentation. And again, the data should speak. It should reveal what those segments are. It can be quite complicated. There are various methods, but the point is that you can't effectively hit everyone all the time. So we have to prioritize and break that into a manageable chunk. So I have an example that'll kind of walk us through a little scenario. Here's a topic that many of us have probably worked in, targeting fertilizer runoff. So these are fictional statistics based on reality. I just sort of amalgamated some different things to just give you an idea. So if this was our background research in that target population, you can start to see some groups that you might be able to pull out of there, some segments that might be an appropriate place to target. Now I've gone ahead and pulled a bunch of them out. It's not a comprehensive list. You could lump and split as many different ways as there are people. So you can also combine. So these are just a few that you might focus on. Again, don't guess and randomly pick one. We need to find a way to let data speak to it. So, a lot of times what we do is we think, oh, well, that one would be easy to do. I'm just going to do that one. Or that's the one that I think is worse, and that's the one we target. But we don't really have any evidence for that. So what I like to do, a simple way to help add a little rigor into these decision processes, it's just a decision matrix. So you can line up your possible segments and then the criteria, and then apply a 5-point scale. So we still are applying scientific judgment here. You could bias it if you want to, but if you're not trying, then that's the point. So what I also do to help limit this bias is I will ask everybody on the team to do this independently. And I will even include some people who are not on the team, who actually have no idea what we're talking about, like an admin or someone in another department, just so we can help kind of focus on where those biases might be. Now from this, you can kind of see that that segment might jump out. It scores pretty high, has a high bit of the population, but not all of these factors may weigh equally. So for my money, I'm going to go more over here, where the reachability is slightly higher, because if I can't reach them, I can't really have any hope of making another change. So even though it's a slightly smaller segment of the population, most of the other factors are equal. I'm going to go with that reachability, but this is just a decision that you have to make based on your factors. Sometimes those might include other things, like, are you connected with another agency? So I will choose the one where I can work with another agency versus the one where I can't, or whatever. So once we have the segment, we now need to refine the intervention. So this is the thing that we're going to do to try to change the behavior. So again, ideally, the research should reveal what it is that we're going to do. So if we're targeting HOAs, we should know that we're going to focus on, this particular factor that was revealed in that research, that, the HOAs are having this particular issue, and that's what we're going to do. But that needs to be simple as possible, specific as possible, and it needs to be something that we have the ability to change. So I'm going to slow down a second on this part because I'm not sure if anybody has ever seen these before. This is a behavioral systems map. And you're not going to be able to read it at this scale, but this is a standard way of mapping things out. This one happens to be for obesity. Landscaping practices are as deeply rooted as these kind of behaviors, believe it or not. So it can be very complicated. In the center is well, you can't see my hand. There we go. So here in the center is the behavior that we're talking about. And each of these nodes is a factor in that process. And all of this web is the feedback loops, positive and negative, that lead to the outcome. So I know none of us are naive enough to think that our little, bus wrap is going to do anything in this core set of feedback loops. Not at all. We are way out here, if at all. So we need to think about that in terms of refining our behavior. If we want to see results, it's going to have to be something that is measurable at this scale, not way over here. I see that happen a lot. You're not going to target fertilizer runoff with one little ad over here. You need to look at more what that ad is trying to target specifically to get good results. So why is that the case? Let's talk a little bit about human psychology. So people, this is a oversimplification. Again, I'm going to show you 4 points here, but really there's a lot of steps in between each of those points. So people in your target population are going to be somewhere in one of these groups. Pre-contemplation means they haven't even thought of it. So they're nowhere near doing the behavior. They didn't even know it existed. Then they go into contemplation. This is where they're aware of it. They might know a good deal about it, but they haven't done it. So you can see there's several phases even within each of these groups. Next comes action. And again, multiple phases in here. There's the trial phase versus the trying to establish a habit phase. And then from there, it becomes maintenance, where it becomes a programmed part of our behavior. It becomes one of the scripts that we run without thinking about it, like taking the trash out on the right day and, mowing our lawn, things that we just do without having to plan them. You are not going to move somebody from pre-contemplation to action or from contemplation to maintenance. At best, you're going to move them across one of these borders. Most likely, you're only going to nudge them up in the same category that they're in. So you have to focus on where you want that behavior to fall and know what you're after. There's only a couple of ways that you can really target those behaviors. One of them is going to be to remove the barrier or the perception of it, because it actually isn't the barrier itself, but what people believe about it that matters. And I have a presentation about that for another time. Or you can make the benefit outweigh the cost. So they'll do it anyway, in spite of the barriers. Now at this point, I have to throw in a little ethics check, because this is powerful stuff. If we were to do this right, we are by definition manipulating people's psychology. If we don't follow ethics here, we literally become evil. And that is not what we want to do, right? So we have to make sure that we apply these ethics and hold to them strictly. It's the principle of any kind of behavioral science, but especially where we're working with the public. So then we have to measure it, of course. So we've refined it, we know their intervention, now we have to be able to measure it. Pre-post and surveys are something that has moved well into the environmental world. It's easy to do, but it is the most easily biased because people are really good at figuring out what you want them to say, especially the second time around. So if you've given them a pre-test and then you give them a post-test, most of those answers are going to be because they figured out what you want them to say based on what you taught them in the training, and they just want to be right. Also, people are really notoriously bad at knowing what they actually do. So they will report that they do things that they don't actually do because they've already figured the answers out. Next comes focus groups. Now, this is where you gather a group of your target population together and then you ask them questions that kind of lead them into a discussion. Ideally, they shouldn't really know what it is you're trying to get at or why you're there. So you can't really operate this yourself if you're affiliated with the group, that kind of thing, which requires time and an expert to do it. If it's done well, it is very revealing. If it's done poorly, it can actually set you way back. So don't take these lightly. If you're going to do them, just get an expert to do it. And then, of course, direct observation is best, but that can be the most difficult, particularly if the behavior is something that you can't see. So be creative. Maybe you can find a surrogate for it, but that is the very lightning fast overview of social marketing. And because the world is not clean, I want to show you some examples of how we actually apply this in my experience. So one project, when I was working in Hillsborough County, we did this 8-year project to come up with restoration projects for the Delaney Creek Basin. This is near Claremelle, sort of kind of near Brandon. And I have another, again, presentation on all that went on with that. But the point here is that we required a social scientist to do an ethnography and focus groups, and then design the projects around that. So that was part of our contract for the design of these projects. Instead of just figuring out what we thought needed to be done and then kind of foist that on the community, we wanted to make sure that there would be buy-in, because otherwise they're just going to trash what we created, right? You know, they're going to turn it right back into what they turned it into already if we don't intervene in the community behavior. So another program, when I worked in Broward County, I ran a water conservation program where rather than just give out devices or give out education, we actually went out to people's properties, did an irrigation assessment, and proposed rebates on what we found. So the beauty of this is that it was basically 100% success rate guaranteed, because we are finding the intervention based on real problems and then paying for them to be fixed. So all the people had to do was just say yes. So pretty easy to do. And I can't claim credit for that. I did not create it, but I did take over the team. So I saw it in action and it worked out really well. Another program in Hillsborough County, I did these trash catcher grants. So trash catcher is just an easy device to build that you can hang in a pond to keep trash from floating all over so people can pick it up. So there's videos on the Hillsborough County website on how to do it. But what we did is, instead of just give them out to people who want a freebie, we had them propose to us why they should get one. And then we gave them to ones that matched our goals. So what we did here was pre-select for people who were in the action and maintenance phase. So we knew they were going to work because the people were already active in the program. If they were just somebody looking for a freebie, they might throw it out there and never do anything with it. It might become trash itself. It may never even get onto the site. But this way we knew it was somebody who knew the need, knew the reason for it, and we didn't have to teach them that. They told us they were already there. So a really beautiful way to do it. Another example here, very recently, we did this imagination garden, thanks to TVEP for supporting that. There was this empty lot next to our Plant City Library. These beautiful windows overlooked it. They wanted to do something with it, so we thought, why not demonstrate some green infrastructure techniques that people can use in their own lawns. And then we created a website with a tutorial on all of the elements that are in there so they can take it with them. The website is also great because we never have to update the brochure. The wrong information is never out there. We just update it when we need to. If we change a plant or change a technique, it just gets updated, and whoever goes to that site will see the new information automatically. So that was a great way. Now, we already talked about this today, so I'm kind of glad I included this example. So with those pesky internal trainings for NPDES, it's hard to get people to stay involved, to stay engaged. So one thing we did was gamify it using Yukai Cho's gamification principles. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. Then, of course, we just get stupid. And the straw man technique is a rhetorical device that lawyers use all the time. It basically involves playing into the names that people already hold, and then skewing that so that you influence their behavior by creating, you create an identity with your audience against the thing that they don't like. So then you implant the behaviors that people who don't like that thing don't do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if they think you're a water hippie, then be the water hippie and show them how people who are not water hippies actually do these behaviors. And then they are like, I'm not a water hippie, I'm going to do that behavior. It really does work well. If your inspectors are viewed as tedious know-it-alls who show up on a construction site and tell everybody what to do, even though they have 30 years of construction experience, then be that guy and show them how the things that you're asking them to do are the things that the people already should be doing, and they don't need to be told by this know-it-all. It actually really does work. That video for the construction, the one right here, we actually had construction companies calling us and asking us if they could have it to train their own people. We developed it to train our people, but some of them heard about it and then they wanted to use it too. So it actually does work well. I don't know how we're doing on time. I do have a quick video example of that can take just a couple of minutes if we have that.
Sure.
Okay. So let's see if I can get this to load up quickly enough. I'm not going to show you the whole video. You can look at that later, but I just want you to see the intro, which is an example of that strongman technique.
Can anyone else hear that?
Are you not able to hear it?
No.
All right, well then skip it. I encourage you to go watch that video. You can find it on our Plant City YouTube channel. Essentially what we do is set this character up as the straw man, the tedious lawyer. They read off the definition of an illicit discharge and then say that everything else we're going to show them is just total silliness. So we have woke everybody up to this idea that we are that, we're going to be tedious with you. And then the rest of this is going to be goofy. So it draws their attention in and they can go on with the rest of the education and then we take something away with it. So does it get a long way? Not really, but it does help. So with that, I will conclude. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to address those.
Thanks, Jonah.
No problem.
Presentation. Right. Does anyone have any questions? Social marketing. I'll start. How did you learn about this? I mean, is there some kind of a training that you went through, or was it just through experience? Is there some training that maybe others can participate with?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. When I first started getting involved in it, it was making that transition to the environmental world. So there was a lot more seminars and things like that that were available. I started with Doug McKinsey Moore's book, Community-Based Social Marketing, and then the training programs that he offers. And then from there, I connected with a professor at USF. His name's Jim Lindenberger. He is one of the founding researchers in this field, happened to be local. So I went to have coffee with him a lot. He gave me a textbook and then we just, developed from there through, independent research and taking courses when I can find them. It takes some time to get your head around it, but once you start gaining the principles, it's not so bad.
I like that idea though of collaborating with a social scientist. Maybe they get some kind of research or they can write a paper or an article out of it. And then you also get their expertise to help with a campaign. So I think that, collaborations like that are underutilized.
Definitely. Now in that field, I think one of the barriers to incorporating social marketing in the environmental world is that we often come from a very engineering mindset. And engineers in the past, the newer ones are better, but in the past they were trained that they knew the answers, that there was one right way and they do it. So it was hard to get them to think in these terms. But if you require that your consultant sub a social scientist, then you will get that influence. And so that's what we did.
Right. I've always maintained that the environmental problems we see aren't necessarily environmental problems, they're people problems. And if we, work with people more, understand how they have come to understand these issues, then I think we'll have more successful outcomes that we want to see. So
definitely. And I encourage everybody, you don't have to take all of this. I gave you the whirlwind overview, but any piece of this that you start to apply will have an impact on your educational program. So, hang on to whatever bit of it you can. And if you need help, give me a call and I can connect you with some people and we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you. You mentioned pre and post surveys, and I know you also said, obviously, direct observation is a better way of measuring any kind of behavior change, but that's pretty difficult. So, is there a better way than those for measuring behavior changes than just, the pre and post surveys and observations? I know, at least in terms of the surveys, that can be really challenging, not only because of the bias, but also because it's hard to reach people. I know with me, the amount of spam that I get in my email and calls that I get is just like, how else do you reach people with those kinds of surveys? I'm just wondering, are there other ways that you see is feasible for measuring those kinds of behavior changes?
Yeah, if you have a budget for it, one of the things that we've done is, again, the focus group kind of approach. And even if you don't do a full focus group, you can get participation through like an online type of focus group. TVP has done some of those in the past, where you offer an incentive and then do direct mail or direct communication to people that you think are targeted. And you get a better response that way. You don't actually have to give an incentive to every person. Again, that psychology comes into play. You just have to give the opportunity. So you can offer one really great prize that they might get if they participate. So instead of having to give everybody a $50 gift card, you can offer a $200 gift card to one person. If they all participate, it could be you. That generates participation. If you don't have a budget, I've done things, just walk around, you know, like I would go through the building and just say, hey, tell me which one of these you like better. And then get an answer, or go down on the street, you know, at lunchtime and just hit people with it. Any way you can gather additional data, going to public meetings, you know, and you're supposed to, you know, talk about what you do. I would use it as an opportunity to gain research. You know, I'd say, I want to ask you guys all a question. Tell me what you think of these three things and why, you know, and so you can gain additional insight. You can learn how to not bias yourself, you know, especially if you let somebody else help you with that in the early stages, just how you ask the questions. If you're delivering a survey, one thing that I like to do is do it where I can watch the people, because they tell you a lot from their behavior. Every time I give a presentation, I actually watch the people in the audience so I can see their reactions to what I'm saying. And then that gets rolled into my next presentation where I can talk about those things that I was seeing, you know, from the audience. So, so that can help a lot. Same thing if you just do an interview, even hiring, we use this technique. I ask questions I know they can't answer because I just want to see what happens when they're off guard. So then I see the real behavior coming out. So you can ask a high level question that you know somebody can't answer, but the answer isn't what you're looking for. What you're looking for is where did they go with it? Because that'll tell you a little bit about where their thinking is. So what stage of that decision process are they in? See, it can get real sneaky. So we have to have good ethics.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it seems like incentives are key. It reminds me of the Pinellas, the FLIP program, the Florida, the landscaping incentive program. You know, I participated because I wanted to get one of those rain barrels. I didn't end up getting one, but that's another example of, you know, incentivizing those people to be there, to participate in that education. And we had a good amount of people, at least in the class that I was in. So I think incentives are key, and maybe we start baking that into our application for grants, right? We say, okay, we need this much to reimburse people to be a part of this, or for these materials to hand out to them for their participation.
Now, I have heard some governments have trouble paying for those kind of things, but there's an easy way to get around that. The consultant can do whatever they want. So create your deliverable so that the consultant provides you the results and leave the means and methods up to them. If you have a good social scientist, they'll pay for that incentive out of their budget, and it doesn't even have your branding on it, which is ideal because we don't want people to know that you're the one asking the question.
That makes sense. And then also shout out to our stormwater funding, because we you know, with money from FDOT that we reimburse you for purchasing materials to hand out for stormwater education. So, you know, like Largo ended up getting rain barrels for their program. So yeah, that's always an opportunity too. Are there other questions for Jonah? Have any of you tried incorporating social marketing into your educational campaigns? Maybe this is just new for everyone, and it's something that we can all try working towards.
This is Christine from Pasco.
Christine.
So we are currently in the process working with our consultant to take our Keep Pasco Beautiful employee, and there's people in the other departments like utilities that does training, and we have different people within the county that all do training, and we have now created so we don't double hit. We've created now a committee with all of our departments inside of training, and inside of those, like, they all have their own social media and stuff. So we're trying to cross-reference our events and moving forward. But we just started this not 6 months ago. So I'll keep you all updated. That's all.
Great, thanks, Christine. Collaboration is also really important. Any other comments or questions? I would love to see these kind of principles and methods being incorporated into the applications that we get for stormwater funding. Jonah mentioned, a truck wrap, for instance, like, it's, it might be successful to some extent, but it might not be generating the kind of behavior change that you'd like to see, or getting these people to those different schemes of awareness to action. And I think that incorporating these kinds of principles, methods into your projects, you might have better outcomes.
I might get shot for saying this here, but one example was storm drain marking. We all do it, very popular. We applied these principles to that program and found that we actually had a negative impact on the population, that most of the time the trash would increase going down the drains. Now that was not a statistically representative study, so I would caveat by saying that. But what we did find out is that they were most effective when paired with some other educational intervention, as a like putting a sticker on the light switch saying turn these off. It's not the sticker that gets the change, it's the education, and then this reinforces it. So that was our recommendation out of that, is that when you do this program, pair it with this other more comprehensive education, and then you will get some more bang for it. Just throwing the markers out didn't help at all.
Good advice. No, I appreciate that insight.
I think we've had big debates in the past of like the effectiveness of the storm drain markers, but yeah, I mean, we, in extension, like our number one goal that we have to report on is behavior change. And so I think the hardest thing for us as a whole, as a group, anyone doing education, is like, we just want to put the product out there. We just want to like make it, but it really, to have an effective program, takes the upfront work. Like we always have to do needs assessments before we can like put out a program, because we're not just gonna do a program and hope people come. It's like, okay, what do you want to learn about? Are you even interested? So it takes a lot of upfront work, but it is worth it in the end. Well, we try and do it as often as we can.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Any other comments? Questions? Joey?
Hey, my name is Joe Thames. I'm the NPDS coordinator from Pinellas County. To kind of agree yet disagree with that statement about storm drain markers, we do put out storm drain markers, but we also pass out door hangers during that time with the storm drain markers, and engage in conversation with the citizens that we are letting them know what we're doing, why we're doing this, and how they can, work together as that community that the storm drain markers are going in to help reduce stormwater impacts. Majority of our demographic here is usually retired or close to retirement folks. So as far as demographic studies, we're not really doing a whole lot of that, but we do get feedback from our citizen complaints that we receive, and we do look at our ambient water quality monitoring program to identify hotspots on where storm drains could be. Marking storm drains and doing public outreach, proactive efforts in neighborhoods and communities could have a greater impact.
Have you done any follow-up to see if you get an improvement, like you see less trash or anything afterward?
Well, we just recently started using the ambient water quality monitoring program as a tool to identify hotspots and where to focus our efforts on. Plus, we have had some issues in the past with storm drain markings as far as quality of product, where we had a defect in the product. So we're actually having to go through and pull up some of our markers and replace them. So I would say now would be a good time to develop a baseline to see how effective storm drain markings are, and in conjunction with the public outreach that we do while we implement storm drain markings. We've also have created in the past month a instructional video for our volunteers and new people on how to properly install a storm drain placard, because I mean there's a lot that goes along with, you can't just slap any type of glue on the back of those things and expect them to stay there. There's a whole process that involves, you know, scrubbing the storm drain with a steel brush, a regular brush, applying the proper adhesive to the back in a correct way to make sure it's installed properly, that it can withstand, you know, things like heat, water, any type of lawnmowers that may run over it, things like that, you know.
Thanks for chiming in, Joey. It's helpful to hear what you all are doing there. Nice. Anyone else? All right, well, Jonah, thank you so much for presenting. I'll definitely have you back. You already had a few other ideas of presentations, so your insight is very much appreciated. I think you know a lot about this field and how we can all be more effective communicators and educators. So thank you so much.
At least enough to be dangerous anytime.
Well, the next item on our agenda is a roundtable. So I thought this would be a great way to kick off the year, hear about what you're working on right now, and any topic ideas for the meetings this coming year. I would encourage you now, if you're able to, turn on your camera. If we were in person, you know, you'd probably, we would see your face, and it's always better to engage when we can see each other. So if you can, turn on your camera, feel free to unmute yourself so we can have a discussion. What are you working on now? What are your priorities? And how can this committee support you? You know, if you are right now, you're just dealing with a big hurdle and you want some input, like now's the time to voice it and we can all chime in. Or if there's a topic you'd like to see at a future meeting to kind of help you in your efforts, you know, bring that up. So I just want this to be a general roundtable, kind of feel free to just speak up. You don't have to raise your hand. So thank you for turning on your cameras, and, you know, whoever wants to go first, feel free to speak up. What are you working on? How about Melody? How is your new social media marketing going? I know you're creating a filter for like Instagram and Snapchat, right? How is that going?
Hi, to be honest, we are pretty slow in the process, but I'm just hoping to speak to our communications department, because I know that this kind of outward facing campaigns require a lot of just filtering through our internal departments before getting to the public. And regarding that filter project, we have yet to work on that, but we're going to focus on the like some of the foundation work, like making sure that the information for stormwater is readily available on the website, and we want to make that like web page you know, easily accessible through a QR code. And I want to incorporate that into some of the sticker decals giveaway, and through our in-person events at various facilities like the library or Parks and Rec. We'll engage them through personal sharing and getting them to complete like you know, like share one of our social media flyer or something, and making sure that they spread the word, and then they get the sticker. So it's sort of like something that was shared before in the previous presentation, where it's behavior based, and that makes them like more able to remember what was being shared in terms of the knowledge part.
Great, thanks for the update. Anyone else want to speak up? What are you working on now?
I can
Scott?
go. Oh, sorry.
Oh. How about Catherine, you go first and then we'll go over to Scott.
Sure. Mine should be a pretty quick update. Catherine from Mosey here, and we are planning our second ever Tampa Bay Water Days for March. So if you haven't heard about that before, it's a big water festival where we have a Friday day that we have a bunch of elementary schools come and learn about water sustainability and stormwater prevention, things like that. And then on the Saturday, we have a public day where families come and they get free admission to the museum as well. So if you haven't already seen, we've started to send out some emails about that, inviting all of you wonderful people to come and participate if you're able to. And if you haven't seen that so far, we're going to be sending out some additional emails shortly. So we'd love to see you all there, and I hope you keep your eyes out for those emails. Thank you so much.
Great, Catherine. So you're looking for vendors
Yes.
to set up at the event. Okay.
Last
Do you
year,
have a website?
I believe the website is up. I don't have the link on me right now, but Mosey Tampa Bay Water Days might pop it up on Google for you. Last year we had 30, I think, different vendors, a lot of which were from the public sector as well as the private sector. So I think some of you were there last year as well.
Great. Well, maybe drop your email and the website in the chat. And
Sure.
this is a good opportunity. I know some of you are getting, stormwater like promo items, swag to hand out. This is a great opportunity to hand those out.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. Thank you guys.
Great. Thanks. Scott, what's going on?
Yes, so FDOT is just finishing up with their phase 1 annual reports for Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco. So that's a great thing to move past and move into some new projects. We have a neat innovative project where we're introducing some grass carp into a stormwater pond up in Hillsborough County, up in off of the State Road 39. So we're interested to see how that works out. We also are working with our SAMS group throughout statewide to improve the SAMS online reporting system and experience to show where our system is outfalls. So we're excited to continue to build that. And we've just got a lot of construction projects that we're keeping on top of in regards to making sure they're constructed properly. And inspections, we do a 70% construction inspection process on the maintenance side, which I am for the construction projects, also to make sure we're all on the same page. So lots of good stuff going on, and we're excited, for this new year. So.
Great.
I'll go ahead. If it's okay. Hi, I'm Stephanie with Keep Pinellas Beautiful. We have a lot going on. It just feels like that always. But one of the big things that we're trying to kick off this year, in part with the Tampa Regional Planning Grant, is a coffee and conversation series at our hotel partners along the coast. We're really excited because we have a few of the locations and speakers lined up, but we are looking for more speakers. Topics can range anywhere from stormwater education to, it's hard because this is at the hospitality, it's within the hospitality community. We want to gear it towards conversations that not only potential guests, if they want to join, but the hotel management, hotel staff can learn new things that pertain to their community, that pertain to their facility, but then also just engage in open dialogue on different environmental topics. So we will be doing a sea turtle discussion, which is completely different than storm drain marking or stormwater education, but really pertinent to the community we're working with. We will be doing an ocean allies discussion, but I would love insight, and if you are geared towards hospitality, or if you think there'd be a great topic that we could bring up to them, that we could incorporate into our series. Right now we're aiming for 3, but it kind of seems like there's going to be more, which is great. There's the definite interest in this program, 30 to 45-minute talks, breakfast, coffee, all the good stuff. So, and I apologize, I've got a board meeting about to start, so I will have to cut out, but we also have our volunteer luncheon. I'll throw that in since I won't probably be here for the plugs later. Our volunteer luncheon is on February 10th, and this is a great time to mingle with the community. We work through all of Pinellas County, so a lot of city and partnering stakeholders come to this. We recognize all of our volunteer accomplishments throughout the 2022 year, and it's a great event. So if you're interested, message me before I cut out and I'll get you the link, but it's a fun event on the 10th of February. So suggestions for speakers, join the event. That's my 2 points.
Thanks, Stephanie. Any suggestions for speakers? Maybe someone to speak on water conservation. I know
Yeah.
some hotels are doing that. You know, they have the little the card out that says, you know, please hang up the towels that you want to reuse. You know, little.
Yeah, we're looking to bring in, one of the speakers is hopefully going to be Dr. Brooke Hansen, who's with Sustainable Hospitality with USF. She's a great speaker, a great partner. Like I said, we'll be partnering with Ocean Allies. We have sea turtle trackers coming and doing a talk at one of them. But we'd like to make this a real interesting conversation that we can kind of bounce through our partners across the county and offer just ways for people to engage. So
maybe the estuary program, Sheila.
Yeah,
maybe that.
She's on my list.
Okay, great.
Always.
Happy to help.
But yeah, any out of the box topics, if you guys happen to come across something and you're like, you know what, this would be really cool to bring up to hotels, or this is an issue that maybe they're not exploring that they could within their means. It's a huge industry here. So we'd love to bring those topics to light.
So Stephanie, we're going to be kind of wrapping up the data collection part of the Trash Free Waters project, and Joe's starting the litter management plan. So do you see that could potentially be a topic? Because it's kind of trying to bring in the private companies into that fold and into that conversation. So that might be a cool topic.
Well, and I think so, because as part of our hospitality program that TBRPC and FDOT have supported for the last 2-3 years has been businesses adopting their space, helping to manage with debris, helping to address that issue before it truly hits our waterways, since they all line on our shorelines. I think that would be a great conversation. And we could definitely bring in more than just guests of the hotels and hotel partners, but a lot of stakeholders. That would be more of a drinks and conversation. It's a heavy conversation for coffee in the morning. We'd have to have a special event for that. I'll message you and Joe for that one.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Great. Any other ideas for Stephanie? Before I move on, Sean?
Yeah, hey, good morning, everyone. Sean Swartz, Manatee County Department of Natural Resources. I just wanted to pass along a quick volunteer opportunity we have coming up at Tom Bennett Park. It's a partnership with Tampa Bay Estuary Program, Sarasota Bay Estuary Program, and Tampa Bay Watch. We're going to be doing a native planting day on a little tributary creek that feeds into the Manatee River. So it's not specifically really a stormwater pond, but it's, kind of adjacent to obviously ecological enhancement. So we're looking for a lot of volunteers. It's obviously a free event. I just put the registration in the chat if anyone's interested. So feel free to kind of paste that far and wide, or if you yourself are interested in coming out and getting your hands dirty, we would love to help. We've got a lot of plants that need to go into the ground, and kind of generally across the board, Manatee County is obviously really interested right now in looking at ways to improve water quality and kind of enhancing the ecological health and function of a lot of our restoration projects. And so we have a lot of exciting things coming up with stormwater ponds and parks and preserves and all that stuff. But in the immediate actionable future, I just wanted to pass along that volunteer event for you or anyone who may be interested, because it's going to be a really fun day and a good chance to do some good work. So hope to see you there, and thanks for passing that on to your crowds of folks and volunteers.
And there will be free lunch for all volunteers.
Yes, very importantly, free food. Thanks.
Great. Those are incentives are very important. And thanks for having it on a Saturday. I saw that there were some Robinson Preserve plantings, but they were in the middle of the week during the workday. So I appreciate Saturday events so we can all participate.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like you mentioned, there's a lot of midweek opportunities. I'll put my Manatee County email address in the chat as well. I coordinate usually a 1 to 2 events per month of midweek, restoration work opportunities around the preserves here in Manatee County. So if you or anyone you know is interested, We do a lot of midweek events to try to capitalize on, the snowbird crowd being in town. But we're always trying to do native planting opportunities and ecological enhancement projects and stuff. So and that's obviously related in a lot of ways to stormwater and water quality and stuff. So if you're interested, or if you know people who are interested, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll put my address in here in just a minute after I zip my mouth. And yeah, if you have questions or you want to get involved, don't hesitate to reach out, because we love making connections in the community here.
Right. Sean, well, I want to connect you with Vicki Parsons, who's our editor of Bay Soundings. If you aren't already sending her those events, then I recommend you do so, because we have a calendar on there with events from around the region. So it's a great place to get your events posted, so our readers.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the connection. I'll absolutely reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's editor@baysoundings.com.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Cynthia, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, hello everybody. It's good to see lots of familiar faces today in this meeting. And sorry, I'm in my car today, so hopefully y'all can hear me. But so I'm the I own PSG. We're a consulting company, and we are currently working with the city of Tampa on their trash-free Tampa Bay case study. So I have been talking to lots of different agencies as we've had to kind of shift the scope a little bit after we got the contract. But one of the things that it includes is hotspot mapping of like litter areas, and it's all, of course, like tying this back to spatial data. So if anybody has other ideas, like I've already talked to, of course, like the Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful folks. I've reached out to Estuary Program. Also tried reaching out to the Ocean Conservancy. I don't have a contact for anybody. I know they have a local office, but I haven't been able to get in touch with anybody from there. So I guess if anybody has any other ideas as to, or anybody has data on litter from that can be tied back to certain cleanups in certain areas, or and especially in Hillsborough County, because it's a City of Tampa project, I would be all ears. I want to make sure I get as much data as possible, because I feel like I'm just trying to pull, everybody has a little, this agency has a little information and this agency has a little information. And my goal is to really overlay all of that. And I know it's, I'm not the first person to do this either, but I want to kind of take the new data that is available. So if anybody has any other thoughts or ideas on that, I would be all ears. And then the second thing that I was hoping for, there's an aspect to the project that includes microplastics, and they did not really have any method that they preferred us to use. And since the whole idea is to try to look back at, identifying sources of where the trash is coming from before it ends up in the bay. Like, I know there's lots of information on, microplastics in the bay and, different locations, but I've really only found one other, it was a USF study that was done up the Hillsborough River, and they did 3 points, but we're basically going to be trying to look into doing microplastic studies in freshwater systems. So I'd be curious to know if anybody out here knows of any previous studies or has done anything like that before. So those are my two questions.
This is Christine from Pasco. It's been before COVID, and I don't recall who, I think it was UF that came out, and we met at the Starkey Educational Building, and it was a group, and they actually had us take and go inside of the Fussagucci River and grab the micro content and describe the great bugs or the bad bugs, the whole makeup of that. And it was a really great outreach program, defining what was great about the water. I wasn't too keen about putting my hand in the water. I'm scared to death of snakes. So, but other than that, IFAS, I believe, led that presentation. I can ask Juanita if she recalls who it was, but like I said, it was like a few years back. I'm not sure if that's what you were trying to aim for. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks. Yeah, and any studies are good. I've just been finding that not a lot of people have done stuff like that before, and I'm so worried that like we're gonna go out there and we're gonna like find nothing or or something. So thanks for the feedback.
And Cynthia, can you hear me? This is Heather Maggio with Tampa.
Yes.
You are correct. Those 2 studies you found from USF, those are the only studies I'm aware of for microplastics in our jurisdiction. So far, I haven't seen anyone else do it or come forward.
All right, we're cutting edge.
Yeah, I can talk to you on the side too, Cynthia.
Okay.
There's
Sounds
definitely
good.
challenges with freshwater, but if you're wanting to do an open system, anyway, we can touch base on the side about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Yeah, I sent you JP's email for a good contact for Ocean Conservancy.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else? What is Pinellas County doing? I know we have a few folks from Pinellas. Ryan, I see.
Excuse me.
Joey.
I'm Christine with Pinellas County, and I can just speak real quick. We are about to start our next round of our FLIP program. So that's Florida Friendly Landscaping Initiative Incentives Program, I'm sorry. And so we'll be we're doing kind of outreach right now, and then hopefully we'll have the deadline for the program at the end of February. We'll start classes in March. For those are open to the public, so anybody can attend, and that's in collaboration with UF IFAS Extension. But yep, we're about to start our next round.
Great. I participated and I really liked the program. I learned some stuff, so I recommend it if you have a chance to take it. Jonah, you have your hand raised. Do you want to speak up?
Yeah, first I wanted to just take the opportunity to introduce Ashley. She's a student at USF who's volunteering with us to get experience. It's one of those ways we help share what we know. She's going to be applying for jobs soon, so please keep her face and name in mind. And then also one of the things that we're working on right now, we're trying to rebrand our drainage ways. When I came here, I discovered that they did not know that they were jurisdictional waterways. They thought they were all stormwater canals. So that's a huge impact, shifting that perception. So we're doing, it's a multi-phase approach to try to make the city staff and the public more aware that these are actually waterways deserving some protection.
Thanks, Jonah.
And I know Sheila already mentioned the project with the tidal creeks that we're going to be doing and developing kind of best management practices around that. I'm helping to work on that, and we're kind of just in the needs assessment phase right now. I've done several interviews, but my next, I think, task that I'm going to assign to myself is to do focus groups with some of the most impacted tidal creeks based on that. If you guys have seen the Tidal Creek dashboard database system. So I'll probably be in touch with some of you because I'm based in Pinellas County, but it's a watershed wide project. So I need folks from Hillsborough and Manatee as well. So yeah, I think I will be doing focus groups and I will have a little incentive, Jonah. So hopefully to dangle in front of them, but I might be reaching out to some of you. So just putting that on your radar. And also I'm just getting back from maternity leave. Thank you, Christine, for covering for me for our Adopt a Drain program, but we are continuing that effort. So if anyone's interested in that program or wants to help me promote, let me know. And I know Tampa Bay, nope, not Tampa Bay, St. Pete Beach is getting ready to launch their own citywide program. So I think it has a lot more, I guess, impact working specifically with cities and kind of having a more focused effort than like broad unincorporated Pinellas County. So I'll put my email in the chat and the website and stuff as well.
Thanks, Lara. We're kind of throwing in announcements in here too, so if you have an announcement, please speak up. But right now we are, our registration has opened for our 2023, the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Leadership Summit. I will add the link in the chat. Please register if you can. There's going to be, stormwater and flooding and all these other really important issues are going to be discussed at the summit. It's going to be 2 days, March 4th and 5th at St. Pete Beach at the Trade Winds. We're expecting it to be even bigger than last year. We have breakout sessions and everything. So if you can, please come. I'd love to see all of your faces there. And then my last announcement is that we're right now hiring, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is hiring a senior planner. So if you know anyone who is looking for a job and they have planning expertise, then please feel free to pass that along. Appreciate it. Anyone have any other announcements or topic ideas for this year?
We have an announcement from the estuary program, and I dropped it in the chat, but we are accepting applications for TBERF. So if you have any project ideas, please review the application. If you have any questions, reach out to either Jessica or Maya.
Thanks, Sheila. That's a great funding opportunity. We applied for it, I don't know, last year, the year before, and we got it. And we're doing a really cool project right now. So I recommend, if you can, please apply for that, the TBERF. Barbara, I see you just unmuted yourself. Do you want to speak up?
Yes, I actually had a question for Jonah. Is the response better for the painted catch basin lids than the placards?
We didn't really assess that, but we monitored the existing conditions by just surveying trash. We had somebody go out and walk around and count trash pieces in the drains. And then we put markers down, the plastic glued down type, and then we put door hangers out. And we did a survey in the beginning asking what people knew, if they had noticed any trash issues, that kind of thing. And then afterward, we followed up and said, did you notice anything change in your community? And then also followed up with a trash survey. So we found that the trash actually increased in some places or did not decrease. And there was zero understanding of the markers. No one noticed them. No one saw the door hangers, even though we could verify that the door hanger was received. People just didn't even remember that they got it, or that we had talked to them even and had the survey the first a month ago. So it was the only ones who did actually notice were people who happened to run into people marking them at the time and did a full person-to-person interaction. So like we had a school group do it. And so the people who saw the kids out there, they were asking, oh, what's going on? Those people were all very well aware of it. So that was why we concluded that as part of this larger interaction, it could be beneficial, but just putting them down. But as for whether a different type of marker made a difference, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone have a project that you're working on that you'd like some collaborators? Well, that's something we can work on with this committee, finding some new project ideas and collaboration opportunities so we can start partnering together instead of doing all of these sort of disparate, programs. I think some kind of regional branding for stormwater would also, it's something that's been interesting me, just so when you're, in the city of St. Pete, you're going to be seeing the same messages as if you went over to the city of Tampa. So if you're interested in that, it's something we can explore. Any other ideas? Okay. Heidi, I see you have in the chat, you were mentioning lawn care companies. Maybe that's a potential topic for another meeting, is to bring in someone to talk about education for lawn care companies or potential incentives so they can change their practices. I think it's a good idea. Alrighty, well, we're right at 11. Thank you so much for your participation today. I hope that you learned something, that you see the value in coming to these meetings. I hope future meetings can be just as engaging. We had really good participation today. I think I saw 38 at one point, so it's great. We're increasing in numbers, so I appreciate all of your work. I know some of the stuff we do is tough, educating on these really complex issues, but it's needed. So I recognize, each and every one of your hard work, and thank you so much for being a part of these meetings and the committee. So have a good rest of your week, and I will see you at the next meeting, which is April 18th, same time. And as far as I know, it's going to be virtual. It seems like we're getting better participation. So thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Alana.
Thanks.